My dad left me his $85,000 classic Mustang. My brother stole it while I was out of town and tried to sell it as his. My dad left me his $85,000 classic Mustang in his will. 3 weeks later, while I was out of town for a funeral, my brother stole it and tried to sell it under his name. I still remember the sound of that car's engine better than I remember most people's voices. That deep, low, clean rumble that made you stop mid-sentence just to hear it roll by. It wasn't just metal and gas and nostalgia. It was his. And now, it's mine. At least, it's supposed to be. The Mustang was a 1967 GT Fastback, restored down to the bolt, with the original Shelby shifter and a deep blue paint job he called Midnight Armor. My dad didn't just drive it, he kept it alive. That car was part of our family long before I was even born. I'm not a car guy in the cliche sense. I can't rattle off engine specs or talk horsepower. But this car, I know it like I know my own hands. Every squeak in the seatbelt. The way the steering pulls slightly left on sharp curves, the smell, like old leather and gasoline and memories that cling to your skin. Dad used to joke that it'd go to the grave with him, but 2 years before he died, he changed his mind. He said, "It's yours, kid. When I'm gone, you keep her running." He didn't say it in front of anyone else, just me and him in the garage, late on a Sunday night, the way we always talked, surrounded by sockets, rags, and oil-stained coffee mugs. When he passed, I expected a fight. My older brother Mark had always been the golden one growing up. Star athlete, straight teeth, charm for days. I was quieter. I stayed out of the spotlight. Dad and I connected over workbenches, not trophies. Mark never gave a damn about the Mustang. He'd mocked Dad for babying it, called it a glorified tin can once when he was drunk. Never drove it, never cleaned it, never cared. So I figured when the will was read, he wouldn't even blink. But he did more than blink. He stared. Because Dad didn't just leave me the car, he left it to me by name, with a handwritten letter attached in the safety deposit box. It said, "To my son, the one who never asked for anything but always showed up. Keep her running." It hit harder than anything else in that room. Mark didn't say anything that day, just nodded once and left the lawyer's office early. I told myself it was nothing. Grief, ego, misplaced pride. I told myself a lot of things, but weeks later, when I left town for a cousin's funeral, I came back to an empty garage. The first few days after the funeral were a blur. Grief has a strange way of making time feel sticky. Every moment heavy, like you're walking through glue. Everyone kept bringing food, saying the same polite phrases, leaving with the same half-sorry expressions. I smiled, I nodded, I thanked them. I hated all of it. Mark, on the other hand, looked like he was thriving. Not happy, no, but composed. Sharp suit, shined shoes, full control. He played the grieving son like it was a role he'd been cast in, said all the right things, hugged all the right people, stood up and gave a short speech at the repast that had even me doubting everything I knew. The only time I saw him crack was when the Mustang was mentioned. Our uncle, Dad's brother, brought it up while we were cleaning up plates in the kitchen. "Still got the Mustang?" he asked me. "Hell of a thing your dad did to that car." I smiled. "Yeah, she's mine now." Mark, who was behind me drying glasses, froze. Just for a second, not long, but long enough. I turned, caught his eye, and he smiled. Too quickly. "Yeah, man," he said. "You'll probably want to take care of the brakes first." That thing's dangerous. He never cared about the brakes before. Later that night, I saw him in the garage, alone, standing in front of the Mustang, just staring. Hands in his pockets, no phone, no beer, just staring. I didn't say anything. Didn't want to make it weird, but something about the way he looked at it, like it owed him something, stayed with me. Over the next couple of weeks, he got weird about it. He started making little jokes in front of people. "Must be nice, huh? Inheriting 80 grand on wheels? Guess all I got from Dad was a pile of medical bills." He said it with a laugh, but not the kind that makes you laugh along. The weirdest thing? He started offering to watch it for me, like I was going to forget it existed. "Hey, if you're out of town, I can keep an eye on the car," he said once. "You know, just in case someone gets ideas." I thanked him and declined. Said I'd be taking it with me when I moved back home in a month or so. I still had my apartment in the city, but I was planning to take a leave of absence. Dad's house was too full of ghosts for me to leave it empty. Mark didn't like that idea. "Why?" he asked. "You hate this town." "I don't hate it," I said. "Just needed a break. Besides, Dad would have wanted someone here." He didn't argue, but he didn't smile either. When I finally left town for a weekend, a funeral for our cousin in another state, I parked the Mustang in the garage, covered it, locked everything, and left with a pit in my stomach I couldn't explain. I should have trusted my gut. When I came back 3 days later, the car was gone. The garage door was unlocked, and Mark wasn't answering his phone. At first, I thought I was seeing things wrong. I pulled into the driveway just before sunset. Tired. Road dirty. I hadn't even turned off the engine when I noticed it. The garage door was closed, but not fully latched. Slightly crooked, like it had been pulled down too fast. I parked, got out, and felt it immediately. The silence. The wrong kind. Like the air was waiting for me to notice. I opened the side door, flipped on the light. The garage was empty. At first I blinked, stared, walked around like it might be hiding behind something, as if a 2-ton classic car could just duck behind a shelf. Then I said it out loud. Number. I checked the lockbox. Still latched. Keys? Gone. I walked back into the house, heart thudding, trying to think logically. Maybe Mark had moved it. Maybe there was some emergency. But why would he do that without calling me? I tried his phone first, straight to voicemail. Then I checked the security camera above the garage. Dad had installed it 2 years before his health really declined. It wasn't connected to the cloud, just local storage. The memory card was gone. That's when I knew this wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. I called him again, left a message, then another. Finally, I texted, "Where's the car?" No reply. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through local Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist ads, just in case he'd been dumb enough to post it publicly. He hadn't, but that didn't mean he didn't have a buyer. The next morning, I drove to his apartment, knocked. No answer. Knocked harder, then louder. Finally, I heard movement. He opened the door like he'd just woken up, hair messy, hoodie on, fake groggy voice. "Hey man, you good?" "I'm gonna ask once," I said, my voice shaking. "Where is the Mustang?" He blinked like I'd slapped him. "What are you talking about?" I pushed past him. He didn't try to stop me. His apartment smelled like beer and Axe body spray. Nothing unusual. But the second I stepped into the living room, I saw them. Car documents. My documents. Spread out on the coffee table. Registration, insurance, my name, crossed out in pencil. His name, scribbled above it. That's when I lost it. I didn't scream. I didn't punch. I just stood there shaking, staring at the man I grew up with, the kid I shared bunk beds with, and realized I didn't recognize him anymore. "You stole it," I said quietly. He had the audacity to look offended. "I didn't steal it. It's ours. You just got it because Dad knew you didn't deserve it," I snapped. He didn't deny it, didn't apologize. He just said, "Look, man, it's just a car." And in that moment, I knew I had to get it back. Not just for me, for Dad. It's hard to explain the kind of anger that comes when someone takes something you didn't just love, but earned. I sat in my car after leaving Mark's apartment, just gripping the wheel. Not driving, not even thinking clearly, just gripping. My knuckles were white. My jaw locked so tight it ached. He didn't even flinch when I called him out. Didn't try to lie convincingly. He acted like I was the crazy one, like I was blowing up over just a car. But it wasn't just a car. It was the last thing I had from Dad. The one thing that had meaning. That smelled like him. That held the grease from his hands on the steering wheel. That rattled the same way it did when we used to take late-night drives just to get away from everything. Mark didn't understand that. Or maybe he did. And that's exactly why he took it. That night I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I paced the house, stared at my phone, reread the will a dozen times, just to reassure myself that I wasn't overreacting. Dad's words were right there. To my son, the one who never asked for anything. I tried calling a family friend who used to work with estate cases. He picked up around 10 p.m. and told me, gently, that yes, this was theft, even if it was a sibling, especially because it was. He told me to document everything, call the police if I knew where the car was. But that was the problem. I didn't. Mark had clearly hidden it. The plates were probably off, maybe already loaded on a trailer, halfway to some private collector who didn't ask too many questions. I wanted to go back and scream in his face. I wanted to break something, but I didn't. Instead, I started digging. He wasn't smart. Not really. He was arrogant. That made him sloppy. The next morning, I went to every used car lot within 50 miles. I showed photos. VIN numbers. Explained that the car may be on consignment from a guy named Mark. Most said no, but one guy, a mechanic off the highway, looked uncomfortable. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. "You might want to check with Burrell Imports," he muttered. "They deal in classics sometimes, off-the-record stuff." That was enough. I drove straight there. It was a small operation, a storage yard, a locked garage, and a shady-looking office that used to be a trailer. The second I stepped out of the car, I saw it, under a tarp, parked to the side, Dad's Mustang. My throat tightened. My chest felt like it cracked open. I walked toward it like I was approaching an animal I didn't want to startle. Same tires, same dent on the back rim, same license plate, still intact. But the paperwork taped to the windshield listed someone else's name, Mark Fletcher. They were planning to sell it by the end of the week. I took photos. VIN license, lot, signage, everything. Then I walked inside and asked to speak to the manager. He was cautious, tried to play dumb, said he didn't know anything, that they just take consignments and don't ask too many questions. So I showed him the will, the copy of the title, my ID. Then I said, flatly, "You're selling stolen property. You have 2 hours to call me and confirm that the car is off the lot, or I call the police." He didn't say a word. But he didn't call my bluff either. I left the lot that day with my hands shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of knowing that I couldn't ignore this anymore. Mark hadn't made a mistake. He hadn't borrowed something. He'd stolen it. And worse, he tried to erase me from it entirely. I spent that night combing through every piece of paperwork I had. Title, registration, photos, screenshots. I scanned Dad's will again, slowly, even though I already knew every word. I needed to see it in front of me, proof that this wasn't some family misunderstanding. This was theft. The next morning, I filed a police report. Even doing that felt wrong, in the way that all morally complicated things do. I didn't want to be the guy who put a sibling in legal trouble. But what other choice did I have? I didn't take anything from Mark. He took it from me. From Dad, really. And if I let that slide, what would that say about how much any of it meant? The officer who took my report sounded doubtful at first. There was hesitation in his tone when I explained that it was a family matter, that the man who stole the car was my brother. I could tell he thought maybe this was a squabble between two angry sons. But the paperwork didn't lie. I had proof. Clear, legal, signed documentation. And once he saw it, his tone changed. After the report, I called a lawyer. It didn't take long to find someone who knew exactly what this was. A man who had seen more than his share of families rip themselves apart over money, wills, property. He looked at what I had and told me, flat out, that I was right to act, that what Mark had done was, in every legal sense, theft, and that I had a strong case. He sent cease and desist letters that same day, one to the dealership, one to Mark. He moved quickly, cleanly, without emotion. I envied him for that. I had to grit my teeth through every phone call, every email, every memory this was dredging up. He just saw paper. I saw Dad's face in the passenger seat beside me. That night, the backlash started. Mark finally reached out. Not to apologize, not even to explain, just to lash out. I didn't pick up. He left a long voicemail accusing me of overreacting, of dragging the family into a mess for something that didn't really matter. He said I was ruining his life, that Dad would be ashamed. But I didn't believe that, because if Dad were here, none of this would be happening in the first place. Then came the calls from other people. Family members who hadn't said 2 words to me at the funeral suddenly had strong opinions. I was making this bigger than it needed to be. I was hurting my own brother. I was being cold, vindictive, spiteful. Even our mother called. I should have expected it. She didn't yell, didn't argue. She just used that soft tone, the one she always pulled out when she wanted to make you feel like the problem. She said Mark was struggling, that I should be the bigger person, that I should remember it's just a car. But that was the part no one understood. It wasn't just a car. It was Dad's trust. It was a part of him he'd chosen to pass on. Not for money, not for prestige, but for meaning, because I'd earned it. And now it sat behind a chain-link fence, almost sold off, like it was nothing. I didn't respond to most of them. I let the silence speak for itself, and I stayed focused. Because this wasn't about revenge, it was about restoring what was mine. The legal side moved faster than I expected. Maybe it was because everything was in order. The will, the registration, the title. Or maybe it was because Mark didn't have a leg to stand on. Either way, within 2 weeks of filing, I received confirmation that the Mustang had been removed from the sale listing and was being held pending resolution of ownership. It wasn't even a fight. The dealership didn't want trouble. Once they saw the documentation and the police report, they backed off quickly. The car was returned to my name officially. The keys were handed back in an unceremonious drop-off, like it was just some misplaced rental. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. I brought the car home, parked it in the garage, and locked it behind 2 heavy chains and a reinforced padlock. I installed a camera, one that streamed directly to my phone. It wasn't paranoia. It was necessity. Because I didn't trust Mark anymore, and that felt heavier than anything else. He never apologized, not once. He sent one message, days later. Short, cold. Hope it was worth it. That was it. Not, I'm sorry, not, you were right. Just spite, as if I'd taken something from him, when all I'd done was protect what was mine. And the truth is, I think part of him genuinely believed he deserved it. That being the oldest gave him some invisible authority. That Dad's words didn't matter. That I was the soft one, the quiet one, the one who wouldn't fight back. Maybe I was, but not this time. The fallout was quiet, but permanent. We don't talk. Not just Mark and I, but most of the extended family too. A few cousins still message me on holidays, but the rest have drifted away or chosen sides. I don't chase anyone. I have the car, I have my peace, and I have the knowledge that when it really mattered, I didn't let anyone, not even family, rewrite my father's legacy. It's been a few months now. The garage smells like motor oil again, that familiar sharp scent that somehow always made the space feel alive. I visit it more often than I probably need to, sometimes just to sit behind the wheel. Not to drive, just to remember. I haven't taken the Mustang out on the road yet, not since I got it back. It's not fear, it's something else, something closer to reverence, like stepping into a church. It's not about the ride, it's about who sat there before me. Dad's jacket still hangs on the hook in the back. His old flashlight still rolls under the passenger seat when you brake too hard. Every inch of the car holds something he touched. People still say I overreacted, that it wasn't worth dividing the family, that I could have let it go. But what they don't understand, what they never understood, is that this wasn't about the car. It was about my father, about the nights we spent in silence, covered in grease, passing tools without speaking, but the man who couldn't always say he loved me out loud, but who handed me the keys and said, "Keep her running." That meant something. And I wasn't going to pretend it didn't just because it was inconvenient. I miss him more than I let on, more than I probably ever said while he was alive. Losing him was hard enough. Losing the last real thing I had left from him, that was unthinkable. So no, I couldn't let it go, and I don't regret what I did. I still don't know if Mark will ever get it. I doubt he will. But I didn't do it for him. I did it for Dad, and for me. Because some things are worth standing up for, even if it means standing alone.